It is cold in Nairobi, but the show is going to be hot. I can promise you that. And of course, as I've already mentioned to you, it's raining a lot, but it's also a chance to take stock to where the rain started beating us as a country, as the youth, and of course as a nation at large. And today we have the privilege of having top youth leaders in the country. I don't know that they're youth leaders or they're just the new generation leaders, and that is the party leader of Inject Party. Huyu ndiye inject na kuinject kabisa ako na sandan.
Yes.
And this is Morara Kebaso. Karibu sana.
Thank you so much.
Karibu.
Yes.
We also have the former
strategic communications advisor to UDA.
What is it with UDA and so many advisors? You are also an advisor.
UDA does not have so many advisors. Yeah, UDA had about 4 advisors only. UDA, the party has about 4 advisors. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I know the others that you're talking about, those 20 plus elsewhere, those are employees of government. But UDA, the party had only 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
But right now, your current title is Party Leader Progressive Plus Alliance.
Progress Plus Alliance.
Progress Plus Alliance. PPA.
Yes.
Morara Kebaso. I've looked at the register of political parties register. We have 91 registered political parties. We have about 10 of them which are still in the process of being registered, but yours don't feature anywhere. Morara.
Well, probably what your listeners should understand is that registration of a political party is a very long process. You begin with name reservation, you get a letter from the registrar. You come to symbol reservation, you get a letter from the registrar. You come to slogan reservation, you get a letter for that. You come colors, you get a letter for that. And this is taking 2 weeks. Then finally you get to the point where you're now submitting your party constitution and nomination rules, which we have already done. Then you get a letter for that. Then you bring a party ideology. So it's quite a process. Even when you begin registration of members, you are still not a fully registered party. You're just being permitted to register members, and if you reach the threshold and open at least 24 offices in 24 counties, then now you can get the full registration. So I think probably the Political Parties Act, together with the regulations, have made it quite very difficult for people to register political parties, because not many young people have the 500,000 and the money to register parties, a political party, because the end cost is about 10 million.
10 million and just register a party.
Yeah, and you see the youth are looking to participate in governance, and they want to participate in leadership. So if this is how difficult it is to register a party, then it becomes harder even for the youth to participate in governance. They are being boxed into the same political parties that were there.
So how far is the process of registering Inject Party?
Right now we've done almost everything that I've mentioned. We've also done our website, party website. We've registered our volunteers into the party to help with registration. So let me just say we are at the second last step.
So yes. In how many months should we expect the party to be
Well,
up?
that would depend, because you see the registrar of political parties has also been appointed as an IEBC commissioner. If confirmed by parliament, then it means there will be a vacancy in that office.
Correct.
And until there's a substantive registrar, things might move a bit slowly on that end. But we still have time. We are in 2025. The elections are in 2027. We believe we'll be home stretch.
By the end of the year, or which month?
At least by end of the year. In my own estimate, by end of 2025, we should be doing our launch.
Perfect.
Registration of a political party takes about 270 days.
270 days.
Yes, in the new laws given now, you have to do that in about 270 days, fully. During that process, every stage, like he's actually even skipped so many. You'll do a name search, and by then there are people who do a name search for even half a year. Because the laws in place are so difficult, you cannot rush through. You get a name that is close to hot, they will not accept. You get something that looks like an existing business, a CBO, an NGO, whatever. For political parties, the registration is so strict that most people get defeated at name search. I know so many, I don't want to talk about them. But I know people in scores who have not been able to go past the name search level. Then after that, of course, he's taken you through some, you do the name search, then you talk about symbols. Again, you can actually live at the symbol level forever. Because literally every symbol you talk about already exists somewhere, either as a business, an NGO, a CBO, a church. So whatever you want to use a lion, somebody already has that. You want to use a crocodile, somebody someplace actually uses that. So it's now forcing people to get over and above, to get very creative. And that, remember, he's talked about 2 weeks. It doesn't take 2 weeks, it takes 30 days. You put in one
every
process.
step.
By the time they respond to you, is 2 to 3 weeks. So by the time you get your legal person to come back to it, again,
it's already late.
Yeah, so
you said it takes 270 days, 9 months. It's like a pregnancy.
Yes, the legal framework now actually stipulates that political registration of a party will take 90 days. But I was lucky because I had started the registration process while I was still at UDA because I knew my exit. I was working on my exit early. So I expect to, without going into other details, to actually be able to launch a political party in the next 30 to 45 days.
That's your plan?
Yes. If everything according to what we are working on moves, I don't want to be very ambitious, but I know that the next party that will have an official launch after the Wamanyoro party, whatever they are launching, will be ours.
This week.
That I'm actually so sure that after that, you will actually see PPA out there. You will see the symbol of a computer loading. You will see it out there. In the next 30 to 45 days.
That's an interesting symbol to use. Still loading.
Because it's progress. We are making progress. Our party is Progress Plus Alliance.
Okay.
Because we are believers that Kenya has progressive people, has got a progressive constitution. Our mindset as a people is very progressive. What we do not have is progressive leadership.
And you're one of them.
We have chosen to actually offer that leadership because unfortunately we've been around this mountain of speaking a lot of English and ideological jargons, but we don't want to move. So for us, we've decided to go that direction. There's a process we are going through at the moment. That is not good for radio, but you can be sure that we will be fielding candidates in the next by-elections, the 16 by-elections. We will field candidates.
You've said there are already 90 registered.
91.
Those 91 registered, are they active, all of them?
They are. Some of them.
Some of them are active. There are some that are inactive, isn't it? Yeah. So
you're going to use one of them?
No, we actually have a plan B. In case things become difficult, because we also know that we are challenging a regime, and not many people in government would want to see the youth conglomerate into a party. They would want them to join the legendary parties so that then they can be taught that politics that has always kept our country in the same position forever. Okay. So we do have a plan B that in case tufike mahali na tuone ni kana kwamba tunategwa.
Because there's a vetting process.
We launch a plan B by NIS actually.
But NIS does not have a service number. They have no service charter. They have no customer care number. So once you are told that you're being vetted, you have no one to call. So those guys can keep you for a year. You're just waiting that your process is at NIS. You have no one to call. They have no customer care service. Hakuna mtu utatuma afuatilie.
Okay. Yeah. So the meeting that you guys had, was it on Friday or Thursday?
I believe it was on Thursday.
Thursday.
Yes.
Yeah. Where you conglomerated, you came together, and you wanted to speak in one voice as the youth.
Yes.
What was the other agenda of that meeting before we get into the other details? the real issue. What was it?
Yeah, we were just coming together as young people from different political parties and different ideologies and different regions to come and reason together and see whether we can build a center movement that is an alternative for Kenyans. Because we sat down and we discovered that we have a visibly corrupt government. And even the president has admitted, everybody in government admits that there is runaway corruption and most of our money is lost to theft of public funds, and they have not controlled it because they participate in it. We also have a very crooked opposition, because the people who are in the opposition are the same individuals who used to be in government, and their record is not so good. They don't have a delivery record, and some of them have a corruption record. So for this reason, what alternative are we giving to the people? Because if we don't provide an alternative, the people will go with the lesser devil. But we are asking, why go with any devil anyway? Why not have an alternative of progressive leaders who are young, who have the energy, the zeal, and want to change the future of this country? That is what the conversation was all about. And we actually were very clear that we are not from the same political party. We are from different political parties. So we have our own conflicts. Everybody's conflicted in their own way. They are attached to something somehow. However, if we are able to pull together and build something at the center, we can be able to give this nation a very good alternative leadership.
Okay.
I have actually heard people, and all of us have actually heard these guys talk about Kumi Bila Beraki. everywhere. The president must serve 2 terms na 10 bila break. And I actually agree with those people that the president should serve 2 terms. 1 term is in State House like he's doing, and the 2nd term he should serve it at KAMITI maximum prison. I still stand by that particular position, because if you look...
How is that going to happen?
Because we...
The 2nd term?
Because we, the alternative force, are going to win the election. And we are not prepared by day to accept any results that declare William Ruto the winner, because he has no votes, he will not get the votes, and we do not expect him to get any votes anywhere, and we don't want him to actually even think that he can win. One part of the reasons why we are saying that we will not accept a result that will actually declare William Ruto the winner is because these guys have chosen their friends, cronies, and relatives into the IEBC. The people who actually have been selected, the nominees you see going to parliament, are their cronies, their friends, and relatives. So we are supposed to sit here, and one of the competitors is choosing his friends, some relative of his friends and his cronies into IEBC. As in the referee, one player is actually choosing the referee, and the rest of us are supposed to go there. If there is anything, by the way, in future we need to actually standardize how we select IEBC commissioners, because we've not been using a standard procedure. We've changed always. 2017 we changed, 2022 we are changing. This particular time it has never been stable, and in the process I do not actually agree, we do not agree that one contestant is actually bringing in the referee, and we actually want to lie to ourselves that that competition will be free and fair. If it has to be free and fair, the person who has chosen the referee must not compete. So we do not expect him to run. And because he has done so many things along the way, we still have got hundreds of Gen Zs that are unaccounted for. We have got an economy that is in ruins. And by the way, the president is so fluent in destruction. Whatever he touches is destroyed. By the way, if you see the Gen Z movement, the Gen Z movement, it's scattered. That is why you're not going to see the Gen Z movement come back. All that is left is for them to make noise on social media, because they are traumatized. The guys who are sold fear, they were given a dose of both the fear of God and a little terror of the devil. Those who can actually buy in, bought in. So we are at a place where they are going to make noise, but what you hear on social media is an echo of a movement, not the real movement. So the president is so good at distraction. Raila Odinga has never had to explain himself on policy, administrative, or political positions from his party. Raila's way is always the way. Now you see Raila all over explaining himself. The president has touched ODM, and ODM can no longer hold together. They are now arguing amongst themselves. The president touched Mudavadi. Mudavadi now looks like a Form 2. He's just moving around government. You cannot tell if this is Mudavadi. Whatever the president touches, he went to NHIF. He brought something called SHA. It's not working. Nothing just works. Whatever the president touches doesn't work. So we are not going to accept that. Even in the election he shows up, we don't want to actually see him there. If he wins, we will reject the results.
We are the National Alternative Alliance. And as Honorable Maliba has just said, we are not prepared to accept any election that declares William Ruto as president, because he is being declared by an IEBC that he has chosen unilaterally. And secondly, I don't think there is any Kenyan who has not understood the state of the economy under President William Ruto, who has not seen the failure of institutions under President William Ruto. Everybody is prepared to vote him out. So I will be surprised by which magic he would want to be declared as president. We are not prepared to accept that kind of a result, and that is our position.
Traditionally, from how the elections have been done in this country, it's always gone down the tribal lines. And in 2022, both President Ruto and Raila Odinga cumulatively got 14 million votes. That was the other candidates, the two of them got less than a million, actually less than 100,000 votes.
Yes.
Because Wajakoya got 60,000 and the other candidate, Wahiga, got about 30,000 votes. These two forces are combining. 14 million votes are combining. Why are you guys going to pass?
The young people who are below 35, between the age of 18 and 35, have 16 million votes on the register.
16 million.
16 million. And
IBC projected an addition 5.7 million.
Now,
so why are you getting the 16 from?
21.5 million then. Because we are going to see out of 22 million votes, let's even begin with the population. The population of Kenya is 55 million Kenyans. 80% are below the age of 35.
Including children?
Yes?
Including children.
Including children. But now, even when it comes to the registration of voters, I want to assure you here, we've done our math, we've done our research. The voters that are below the age of 35 are 16 million.
16 million.
Now, the youth of this country have categorically stated that Ruto must go. That William Ruto is not a choice for them. They've said that even if they put a mosquito here and William Ruto on this side, they'll vote for the mosquito.
Mosquito takes an early lead.
So where will William Ruto get the votes? You see, 16 million votes are not small votes. And secondly, we are going to see a very big registration of voters, young voters, because we have an awakening like we've never had before since independence. We have to agree that since independence, this is the first time that we have a very big youth awakening on the basis of that we are young and we want a better future.
Okay.
So on that basis alone, I do not see how you can win that election on the traditional terms of tribe.
Okay, Maliba.
I know that William Ruto might not run on UDA. If the president ever runs for president again, he will run on ODM. And he can't run on UDA. UDA is a bloated garment that you cannot go to a wedding with. And there's so much that is working around. People are talking about numbers. William Ruto did a very good thing for this country. He moved us from the politics of identity and brought us to the politics of ideas and issues. But at the moment, he's struggling to take us back to the politics of ethnicity. He wants to re-ethnicize the country. That's why you realize they are creating a lot of teen gods in every region. In Kisii, you have got Anosoro being crowned to become the new kingpin. In Western, they are trying to create 18 kingpins in Western. Small, every
tribe.
Yes, so that then, because the only way this other group can win is if they ethnicize the country. But then that is a river the country already crossed, and we are no longer going back to that. So you're talking about numbers. William Ruto thinks that he will win the election by having two things: money and political profile. That political profile should be a wave. So Raila brings the political wave or profile, and William Ruto has got all the money of this country. He is the person who has got access to 4.2 trillion shillings of our budget, and he uses it like it's his pocket change. That is why he has money and the rest of you do not have. It's not working for everybody else, but somehow the president and his cronies have got money. So you know exactly where they are getting money, because there is no special business the president does that gives him money. If you were to give 20 million shillings to a church every Sunday, churches only, and you know I have worked on the other side, so you know there are people who go to State House every day, different delegations, and they make good money. But let's go with the church alone.
How much did you make when you're there?
That's a story for another day.
No.
So let me finish my story.
Okay.
Let me finish my line.
Okay.
So if you were to give a church 20 million per day, per Sunday,
per Sunday,
you will actually have 1 billion and 80 million.
1.8 or
1.08
1.0. Wow.
If you just give, that's 52 Sundays, you give 20 million every week. That is 1.08 B. I just want to ask pastors out there, we do not want a war with you, but what is this business that William Ruto does that will give him, for church alone, $1 billion plus? He has no industry. Of course, he has got some chicken, and he sells samosa and mandazi at Weston. But will that really be the business that can actually get the president ya kutoa tu kanisa peke yake $1 billion per year? And then he has got hizi zingine zenye anapatia watu. Before the churches think that probably young people were fighting with them, I love them to think of this. Their own people, they should ask business people. Business people are struggling. There's so much extortion. There's so much harassment. I love church leaders to also talk to business people before they accept some of these offerings. So the whole idea is that if they ethnicize the country, they can win elections. But for us, we have decided that we will not do the politics of ethnicity again.
Okay.
For the simple reason that the country already moved away from that. That for us, we are not necessarily worried about these ethnic numbers and the way they actually are doing these things. I am a millennial. These ones are Gen Zs. We are already a grouping of 17 different political parties and formations.
Okay.
And Morala did not bring this point home. The reason why we have got the tagline that this is prison break is because the choices that we are being given is to a choice between two wardens. Warden A, which is William Ruto and Raila Odinga in BBG, and Warden B, which is the People's Loyal Opposition led by Rigathi Gachagua. We need to think out of the box.
Okay.
We cannot just swap wardens and we are still in prison. We are staging a prison break. And the reason why we are doing this is this, that every time people tries to come up with an alternative movement, there is a lot of noise, especially from young people. You people are sellouts and everything else. Look at this. If it took Raila all the violence to get a seat at the table, how will Morara get a seat at William Ruto's by just walking around here and doing Vampire Diaries?
Okay.
How will him combing his hair and looking smart in an orange tie?
Order, my brother. Order, my elder brother. Order, honorable member.
I say that because there's too much talking and young people pulling each other. There's a vampire mentality, especially amongst young people. Okay. And Gen Zs are repeating this. You are a Gen Z, so let me tell you.
I'm a senior Gen Z.
You are
senior.
I don't want to ask how old you are. You are a man, but it's okay. But this is I just want to highlight this. Gen Zs are repeating the same mistake that we millennials did. Mm-hmm. We millennials spent the last 1 decade pulling each other down. That is why we do not have strong leadership. Saizi tumeanza kufinywa na fees na kusumbuliwa na watoto ndio tunaanza kuamuka. They are not doing anything new. Like for example, when you say leaderless, once you are leaderless, you are voiceless and you are also voterless. You cannot have a vote that counts. You cannot have direction if you are leaderless. Okay. You can be so many lesses. Mm-hmm. You can even be yourself less. But if you are leaderless, you are voiceless and you are voteless. Okay. For the simple reason that everything the Gen Zs fought for has actually been eroded. Okay. The gains they made have been eroded. Everything. Kila kitu
will come back.
I will finish with this line by saying this.
Yes.
Kila kitu walipigania imechukuliwa. Hata opulence imerudi, madharau imerudi, kila kitu imerudi. And in the justice or rather just war theory, there is a line there that says men should not be sent to war to die in vain. It is unfair that we send hundreds of young people to die in vain, and then even the little gains we made, we could not defend or consolidate them.
Well, I truly believe that the youth have the numbers to defeat any presidential candidate who will rise. And there's been a lot of chatter and conversation around what it is that we're up to and what we've been doing. And I'm saying this knowing full well that people have been trying to make it look like I'm trying to go back into a movement, and I want to make it categorically clear that I am only in one movement, the Orange Democratic Movement, in the Youth League, because we cannot alienate the youth. There are youth who are card-carrying members of the Orange Democratic Movement, of the UDA, of KANU, of whatever. And what we're trying to do is inspire a totally different conversation. Because if we play this particular game of politics with the rules that have been set, we are bound for failure. What we've started doing, I find it to be rather ludicrous that people who've plundered the resources of this country can meet without consequence. They can attend each other's weddings without consequence. But I cannot have a cup of tea with Morara. Suddenly it is a cause. Suddenly is betrayal. He has not stolen any public money. Maliba, for all intents and purposes, the only way I know Maliba and the thing that he's being castigated for is excellence. How many people have decamped from UDA who are of no consequence? So I'm having a conversation with some of the sharpest minds, because if I extrapolate this and I'm thinking of political leadership and what the political atmosphere is going to be in the next 10 to 15 years, these are going to be my peers. I would rather get acquainted with them early. Okay. On the issue of numbers, if we sit down as young people, we can clinch every seat. We might not even need to campaign. We might just say, now you will come and space on this particular day, you give us your agenda, we mark it from home, and then we just go and gather our votes. We might actually say, we are not interested in the votes of any other demographic. Okay. We are trying to ask ourselves, as young people, do we have the critical mass to drive this? Yes. How can we ensure that we consolidate this, not in hatred? Because there are very many people who are united by hatred for certain individuals than they are by the love of their country. Okay, yes.
The President William Ruto will not win in 2027. Do you agree with that as well?
I think so.
You think the President will not make it back?
With the current circumstances, it will take a great deal of violence, it will take a great deal of interference, and of course, the popular thing to say, if with a person, and now people will look and say, oh, because we have the facts. We look at the candidates now that whenever you go to, even to ethnically driven blocks, they are saying, if you give us any other option, we will take it at the current president. So the narrative that the current political elite is trying to drive is the one that certain presidents 2 years in their term are usually very unpopular. You'll hear some people say Kibaki's rating was 41, Moi's rating was 30 something. President Ruto's is 12. It's 12 currently.
The math.
But the math we can do, we can just type in and find the polls, because there are people who drive the opinion polls.
Okay.
And if we're looking at the data coming from 12%, and you ask yourself, the presidents who've had a popularity rating of below 50, look at the subsequent election, how much violence goes into such elections.
Okay.
So, and I'm saying this,
we don't want the country to go to violence.
It's okay. No, it
Yes,
won't.
yes.
And I'm saying it will not. I'm not trying to beat the drums of war, but we have to have these super uncomfortable conversations. How can it be that there are members from ODM who know full well that we had hoped to clinch a presidential election in 2022, who are currently beating the drums of this president that we said this was an irregular election? Part of the MOU we have with this current government is saying fungua sava. Those legislators are now those legislators are now currently beating the drums of this government louder than the legislator on the other side. But I cannot meet youthful leaders and ask them, Morara, there is something that you're doing. You know, these two are presidential aspirants. They're presidential hopefuls.
Okay.
I have this super rare opportunity of meeting them early and seeing this is their policy position. In the event that one of them clinches the presidency, I will have the presidents here and tell them, Rice, we were here, we did this, and we were this and certain show. This is what you said.
Okay, Kazimot, we'll get to that.
Yes.
And I know you have a lot to say.
Yes.
Because there's a lot to talk about. But Morara,
Yes.
even before the ink could dry
Yes.
about the meeting that you had,
Yes.
somebody came out and apologized profusely,
Yes.
saying that I'm really sorry I associated myself with the sellouts,
Yes.
with projects.
Yes.
Our brother Fanyamambo was
Amefanya mambo sana huko.
was actually sent a lot of messages about these two largely wakamuuzia uoga and
Akanunua.
and then in the morning he almost bought the fear. But I want to actually assure you that Fanyamambo is back in the fold. He's back. We've had a conversation and told him these people who actually are selling you this fear and everything else. What Makore has not told you is this. Do you really think that Martha Karua ideologically agrees with Rigiji? No. In fact, Martha Karua does not agree with anyone. Do you really think that Matiang'i really has got regard for and Mythical Inturi and the other people? No, but he can meet them. But these are people again, the other thing is this, there are people who died defending Raila to actually become president in 2022, right?
Yes.
Raila crossed over and went to deal with William Ruto without consequence. William Ruto left his people and joined Raila without consequence. Now these are people you have voted. No one has voted for Makaura and no one has voted for Morara here. People who are supporting these people are the same ones who are holding these young people to some very ridiculous high standards. That Makaure cannot make even the scenes of youth to go and see Baba. Baba was his hero when he was growing up. That they cannot call Morara for tea and Morara goes to actually just see what happens there and he comes out. So that particular aspect, and you realize this, that every time young people want to actually emerge, an alternative voice wants to come out, there's only so much noise. We tried to do something to do around the jobless corner. There was so much noise. 2 months since we did that, no one else has done anything. Yet, Rigiji's team is concretizing. The broad-based government side is also concretizing. So this crab in bowl mentality where this, I call it the vampire mentality, where you are mauling each other and bringing each other down, is something that is actual. And by the way, a lot of the people who are so loudmouth on Twitter, on X and Facebook and social media, I know because I worked for government, I know some of these people, we used to pay them. And I'm actually going to name them because they are shouting.
Who are they?
I don't want to say here. I'll deal with them properly. I'm going to launch them, like the person who's paying them keeps on launching everything. There are people on social media whose work is always to shout out, this one is a sellout, this one is a project, this one has been paid this money. Yet I know that is a strategy we have used in government before, where when we say that Emmanuel Tohia, you are becoming a threat, we simply get somebody else to delegitimize you by calling you a project. So some of those people on social media who are making a lot of noise, I am going to name them because I paid some of them when I used to work for government, and I'm not going to keep them as they go around to scuttle this.
Okay.
I am not
If I was to add something,
Okay.
we are not giving each other opportunity to rise. And some of the young people that criticize Morara for having a presidential ambition do not have a presidential ambition themselves. And even if I was to exit the scene, they are not ready to step up and occupy that space. People criticized when we started or wanted to launch the Inject Party, when we began registration of a party. They said we're supposed to be leaderless and partyless. Me, I saw it differently. I knew that we are in a democracy. Our democracy is all about political power acquired through political party, through a democratic process. And since I've done politics for 10 years, by the way, in spite of me being a Gen Z, I started politics when I'm very young. In fact, when I was a student leader at Kenyatta University, forget even that, at 7 years, I'd already attended a political rally. At primary school class 7, I'd already read The Enigma by Raila Odinga, that book. So my interest in politics began a long time ago. I'm named after politicians. I come from a political family. I knew how politics works, unlike maybe probably my peers who may not have the benefit of that experience. I knew that first, we cannot join a different political party. For me, I knew that if I want to have a presidential ambition, I'm not going to go to ODM and overtake Raila and be the ODM candidate for president. I'm not going to go to NAK Kenya and overtake Martha Karua and be the candidate for NAK Kenya for president. I'm not going to join UDA and overtake William Ruto to be the presidential candidate for UDA. And therefore, if I want to be a presidential candidate, I need a party. And therefore, I began that process very early. Right now, many people are beginning to agree with me that it was very important for Gen Zs to have a political party. Okay. So I already crossed that bridge for them. And most of the youth are going to realize this because they are going to go into political parties. What I teach for 5 million, for certificate, nomination certificate to be member of parliament. Others will be asked for 10 million for certificate to be member of parliament. They will run back to the Inject Party to come and get the free certificate because I've gave a promise that there is no young person below the age of 35 that will be charged even 5 bob to get a certificate in Inject Party. Okay. Secondly, just wait. Okay. You've given my colleagues a lot of time.
Okay.
As young people, we must reject disorganization. Secondly, we must stop lacking self-esteem. We need to have the esteem to know that we are the leaders that we are looking for. We sit so much as young people expecting that our leader will come. But we are the leaders we are waiting for. So if we keep waiting, we will wait for ourselves forever. We need to realize that we are those leaders that we are waiting for. That these people who currently occupy the political space, they cannot give us the change that we are asking them for. I can give you one good example. You are asking William Ruto to audit public debt. How can he possibly do that? Kibaki left a debt of 1.89 trillion.
Yes.
William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta came and borrowed more than 8,000 times since independence. They borrowed 8 trillion. By the time Uhuru was leaving, and we've done the math, more than 6 trillion is missing. It cannot be accounted for. It didn't fund any program, it didn't fund any road, it didn't pay anybody a salary, it was just borrowed and stolen. Okay. So how do you expect the problem to be a solution to the problem? I mean, you can't ask William Ruto to solve the debt crisis, yet they are the source, together with Uhuru Kenyatta, of the debt crisis.
Okay.
So we are asking too much of these people because they can't give that. They've been bred through a corrupt system. We have to step away from that system and accept to work with each other. And some of the youthful voices that we need to work with are already part of political parties. Because a youth who already has interest in politics, there is a likelihood that they've already joined a political party and they are currently maybe in the youth league, league of that political party. Yeah, some of the leaders that we idolize, they came from other political parties. Julius Malema was the youth leader for ANC. So we cannot be pulling each other down merely because a youth, went to a political party or greeted William Ruto. I mean, why would somebody deplatform Casmuel for greeting William Ruto and support Wamunyoro, who was with William Ruto as they were stealing together?